Why does Malta have such a massive love for classic cars?
Malta is a car nation. Car nation, not the flower, but a nation of cars.
Why are old machines here cherished the way that they are?
This is our classic car collection. They're all British, and it's me and my father club.
Why do the Maltese use classic cars to preserve the past and pass on their legacy to future generations?
I believe that once I'm gone, I'll leave something for my kids rather than a few euros, something that they can look at and something that they say, my father did that or had that.
A country where old machines are treasured and used in equal measure, from the everyday workhorse to more exotic cars. A country where you're never too far from pristine metal and people admiring them. And where you never know what treasures await in plain sight or buried deep below the ground. Welcome to Malta, the land of the classic car. Malta, a tiny archipelago nestled in the Mediterranean Sea, where the sun shines nearly all year round, where history and culture peek out around every corner, and where cars seem to reign supreme. It's estimated that Malta has one of the highest cars-to-people ratios in the world.
In Malta, there has always been love for cars. It's a small island, but I can assure you that there are lots of hidden treasures in Malta. Mostly British cars, I would say. The reason being that we were much more used to British cars. The first importation of cars came from the UK.
Much of Malta's motoring history is linked to Britain. The Maltese drive on the left-hand side of the road in right-hand drive machines, the result of being a former British colony. Maltese streetscapes once almost exclusively featured imported vehicles from the UK, a lot of which survive today. Whether it's those iconic Bedford buses that can still be spotted ferrying tourists around, or old British classics that still find space on Maltese roads and in the hearts and garages of classic car enthusiasts.
Obviously, we come from the English background, being a former English colony, which a lot of people know that UK is the home of motorsport, basically. I think something was left here.
A lot of British servicemen, they used to get some nice sports cars to Malta, okay? And with these people, sometimes when there is a small fault or something like that, sometimes they didn't even bother to fix them. And they used to sell them at a relatively cheap price where the Maltese could gain them. Obviously the Maltese, they were always good at fixing these cars. Probably, as they say, necessity was the mother of inventions, and they used to fix these cars and enjoy them for some time. And it was practically the only cars that they were available.
Tucked away in what was once an ice cream factory is evidence of one family's love for British cars.
It's sort of a nostalgia getting the British cars here in Malta, because as we were a British colony, the British cars are more popular.
Aldo Patch and his father Tony Patch's fondness for British machines has led to this, a private collection that they've fondly dubbed the British Classics Garage Malta. Their first project car was a 1957 Morris Cowley, originally a pickup truck converted into a van in Malta. That set the ball rolling. Soon they acquired a Hillman Minx, an MGB, a Triumph Spitfire, a Ford of Britain Consul, a Cortina, a Capri, a Morris Minor 1000, and a 1948 Triumph Roadster. These machines aren't just cars, they're vital members of the Patch clan.
A good percentage of the Maltese people tend to get their cars, or used to at least, as part of the family. They were expensive to buy. I think they were almost the price of a small house back in the 50s and 60s. You have to treasure it because it was sort of an investment for half your life.
An investment cherished and passed on to the next generation as well.
the best thing for me is that I know that he take care of them, and when I die, I leave it to him.
In fact, keeping cars in the family seems to be a recurring theme in Malta. Mark Galea curates the Malta Classic Car Collection. What started out as his late father Karol Galea's private car collection has now transformed into a place of pilgrimage for car enthusiasts. Even here, among more exotic machines, it's the story of a family car that stands out.
So basically, this one is an Austin A40 Somerset. It is rare, but it's not a special car or a car that costs a lot of money. But it has a very good story to it.
Years ago, when Mark's father was trying to procure a Jaguar E-Type from the UK, he got distracted by an Austin. Since his parents owned one when he was a little boy in Malta,
So this is my dad.
he decided to buy it.
We went to see it, and he said, "My God, it looks absolutely identical." So we arrived at a decision, and we bought it, and we got it here. Only to get to know when we came to register it, it was the same car. And this is an absolute miracle. It gives me goosebumps every time I say the story, basically, because what are the odds? So this is the one car that I will never sell, obviously.
Even in other garages that boast truly rare and expensive cars, it's those with a family connection that end up tugging at the heartstrings.
It's not a very valuable car, but it has a lot of sentimental value. This used to be my father's car 40 years ago, so every time I come in here, I remember my father, who passed away 20 years ago.
Anthony Camilleri began collecting classic cars when he retired in 2016. It started with a 1952 Jaguar XK120 fixed-head coupe, which was in a state of disrepair in the US. Bringing the car to Malta took almost 2 years, and the restoration took a further 18 months.
This is how the car arrived in Malta. Look at the interior. Nothing existed. But it was in California, it was a dry car. All the parts were in boxes, brakes, carburetors, dashboard. That's the engine being stripped. It was my first attempt at restoring a car. I've never done this before. Although I'm an engineer by profession, but I've never restored a car before. It was a nice project. You only do it once because it was a lot of work, 18 months of working full time, but it was worth doing.
Perhaps a corollary of being Maltese, Anthony couldn't stop at just one classic car.
My wife's idea was to get cars from every decade. So we started with pre-war cars from the 20s, 30s, then we went on to the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, but it was very difficult to find a 1940s car. The reason was because of the war during the late 30s. And in the 40s, very few cars were built.
But every classic car collection must have a crown jewel, and for Anthony, it's his 1947 Sunbeam Talbot 2-liter drop-head coupe.
The Sunbeam Talbot here has a lot of history. It's a car that was owned by the first owner for over 40 years. I have pictures of Princess Elizabeth in 1948 during a car show in Coventry. This car was restored in 1995, and it's still with the same paint that was given in 1995. All I had to do when I got the car was recondition, sanded, and revarnished the wood. Otherwise, as regards the paint is still from 1995, and it's still in very good condition. The car has 35,000 genuine miles from 1947, and I've got a log of all the mileage every year. As I said, 51 of these were built after the war, between 1947 and 1948, and then they stopped production. And this is one of the 51, and one of the only 4 known to exist.
But what's clear about the Maltese love for classics is that a car doesn't need to be rare, expensive, or exotic in order to be treasured.
It's iconic British Morris Minor. It was a family car, a worker's car. We're not speaking about a Jaguar or a Daimler or a Mercedes. Just a common family car. Not too expensive, but reliable. Okay, you don't have any air conditioners and things like that, no airbags. If you want an air conditioner, you stick your head out of the window.
And though Malta does have a high number of British cars, every collector has their own proclivity. For Oliver Attard, a member of the Old Motors Club in Malta, it's not just collecting German cars that's something of a passion. It's also putting them through their paces.
If you ask me what my real hobby is driving the cars. So I would say that I think from all my cars, I would say that this is probably my favorite. It's because with this car, we have been abroad several times. We've been several times to Sicily, we've been to Calabria, we've been to Naples, we've been to Como, Switzerland. So we traveled a lot in this car. The car has been always faithful, always reliable. It was a 1936 car. What's a bit unique with this car is that this is the first year that this Model 170V was launched. And some say that this model is the model which saved Mercedes after the war. Why? Because after the war, Mercedes still had the tools to produce this car. So practically, as soon as the war was over, they started producing this car in different versions, convertible, saloon, two-door, four-door, ambulances, police cars, convertible pickup trucks, everything.
And while Oliver creates memories by driving his cars, Dennis Burke, another Mercedes enthusiast in Malta, creates memories by restoring his machines, one piece at a time.
I was always in love with Mercedes, like a lot of people, I would say. It was always a dream. And now I've started restoring from the last maybe 12 years. Most of the things we try to do, as you can see, in my own house, in my own garage, in my own time.
Dennis's current passion project, a rare rear-engined Mercedes.
It's called the 130H. It started producing this car in 1934. Unfortunately, we have a bit of missing parts, which we are trying very difficultly to find from other sources. The main frame of the car, all around, is made of wood and not metal. In fact, most of the wood is being changed. I believe anything, not just cars, anything which is old, have two meanings. One, that you learn from other people's experiences and how it evaluates during the years of what we have today. You're doing something which helps your mind and even yourself physically to keep active, especially when you reach a certain age. I think a lot of people have pleasure in restoring something that otherwise it will finish up, as scrap metal.
In Malta, these restored gems are often found in the most unlikely places. Sometimes concourse-winning cars are located at the bottom of disused quarries. Here, 3 stories below the ground, is a piece of Maltese automotive history, one of 2 Mercedes-Benz 300 SELs that was presented to Maltese Prime Minister Dom Mintoff by former Libyan ruler Muammar Gaddafi in the 70s. While Mintoff only used the car briefly, it eventually served as Agata Barbara's presidential car. Eventually, it ended up as a car hired out for weddings, until Mercedes collector Philip Fenech bought it and painstakingly restored it to its original form, including fitting in the original 3.0-liter engine the car first came with.
This model 1968, Mercedes-Benz 300 SEL. Long wheelbase. I restored it Me and my father. When it's 20 years make wedding, it's silver and black. Silver here and the roof black. But me, I roster it, make it black, and put the original engine, the factory engine.
Despite the car being a piece of history, Philip is glad it's in his hands and not inside a museum.
It's my car, and I want my car to go somewhere with the car.
Driving through Malta, one never knows what old machine one might spot. Sometimes they're not classics in the truest sense. Old Indian cars like the Tata Sierra, Maruti 800, and Maruti Gypsy, increasingly harder to spot in India, continue driving on Maltese streets. The sole agents of Tata Motors in Malta gives us a perspective on why.
The Tata cars are good vehicles, so they last long. They're Indian, don't forget that. And yes, people love their cars. So they tend to take care of them very well. 30 years after selling the vehicle, the spare parts are still available from the manufacturer. So it's because Tata Motors is servicing parts which keeps the vehicles on the roads.
Will a Tata Indica ever be a classic car? Or a Tata Sierra? No. The same applies to certain models, European models, which are born to live for 20 years and then they disappear.
But there's one Indian car that has nearly transitioned to cult status in Malta, the Maruti Gypsy.
Yeah, it's an icon. Well, I drive a Gypsy myself, so it's a nice car.
Why has this Indian car found a following among off-road fans in Malta?
I found this one in the market, Gypsy King. It has a 1.3 fuel injection engine and 4x4 as well. Solid axles front and rear. Pretty decent in off-road. I like its raw experience, driving experience. I mean, it's like literally a piece of metal and nothing luxurious at all. If I wanted something luxurious, I wouldn't go for this. But I like its simplicity.
It gives you that raw kind of emotion of being on the road. Tourists that come actually look for them, especially in Gozo, because you can just rent it for a day and just go around the island and just enjoy the day, especially in summer. You wouldn't think they're so popular, but having someone foreign coming to Malta and thinking, yes, that's what I want to rent, gives you kind of a sense of, okay, so there's something about this car, you know?
It gives you a vibe, kind of.
The fact that these old machines not only survive but are still celebrated in Malta goes back to the Maltese approach to cars in general.
For a very long time, it was customary for people in Malta to have two cars. One of them that they drive every day, and then they used to have the new car in the garage for the weekends. So that was normal. Probably the Maruti 800s, which you are seeing used every now and then, the first 5-10 years of their life, they were being kept in a garage as the new car.
Then there's the fact that Malta's weather is extremely conducive to motoring culture.
In Malta, the weather is quite mild. We don't have a lot of rain, which is a very good thing for the old classics. Once you restore a classic, we tend not to even take it out in the rain. Apart from that, with classic cars, since I believe 2013, there is a scheme when you restore a classic and keep it in this condition, you can register the car and only pay an administration fee of €80 every year. So there is no big expense to keep the car, rather than paying a big license. I think that helps a lot and encourages people to restore cars and keep them pristine as you see them here.
From a rust point of view, I think that Malta was a good place to preserve the car. We still have rust because we still have the humidity, which is salty because of the sea. But I think it's less cruel on the cars than the salt in mainland Europe. I think that even in Malta, we have less hobbies. than abroad. So I think that for some time, having a hobby around cars, it was one of the few things that one could do. So that's obviously, I think, fueled all the passion that we have. Yes, the passion is huge. I mean, at Old Motors Club, for example, we are around 400 members, and between us, I would say we have around 2,000 cars, which is a lot.
Cars through which passion is passed down from one generation to the next, helping keep memories alive. Cars that are restored with remarkable attention to detail. And cars so rare that it's not just buying them, but driving them that is an act of worship. What do you think of Malta's passion for classic cars? Let us know in the comments below. And if you'd like more stories about car culture from around the world, subscribe to DW REV.